Okay, get this. What if the U.S. Supreme Court, of all institutions, is about to hand India a massive economic victory, completely by accident? It's a fascinating scenario, and it's playing out right now, all because of a legal challenge to Donald Trump's tariffs. And India's path to winning this whole trade battle might just be to do absolutely nothing. It sounds totally backwards, doesn't it? I mean, in the high-stakes world of global trade, how can a country possibly win by just sitting on its hands? Well, as we're about to see, sometimes the smartest move you can make is just to let your opponent make a huge mistake. And that brings us to what you could call the do nothing, still win strategy. The whole idea is pretty simple, actually. Instead of getting into a direct fight, you just wait. You benefit when your rival messes up on their own. By creating all this internal economic and political chaos with its own policies, the US might have accidentally created the perfect opening for India to get ahead without lifting a finger. So you might think this geopolitical chess match is being played by diplomats in big fancy rooms in New Delhi or Washington, but nope. The real battleground is somewhere completely different and, frankly, pretty surprising. It's a courtroom. A domestic legal challenge inside the US is about to have massive international consequences. So what is this court case really all about? Well, it boils down to this number, 50%. A massive 50% in total tariffs that the Trump administration slapped on Indian goods. That's a figure that can totally change the game when it comes to trade, and it was built in two key stages. Let's break that down. The first 25% were called reciprocal tariffs. The argument was basically, hey, since India has high tariffs on our goods, we're just going to match them. Simple enough. But then another 25% was piled on top, and the justification for that one? India's decision to buy oil from Russia. So two totally different reasons, adding up to one huge 50% tariff. And through all of this, India's position has been incredibly consistent. They've basically said, we will not bend. Now, this isn't just about being stubborn. It's a strategic move. For India, if they caved on these tariffs, it would set a really dangerous precedent. It would weaken their economic independence and their ability to protect their own industries. So they've held their ground, sending a clear signal that any trade deal has to be on their terms. And this is where we get to the absolute core of the Supreme Court case. The fundamental legal question is this. Did the President of the United States actually have the power to do this all on his own? The case is really digging into whether the president overstepped his authority, especially under laws like the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. So you see, this is way more than just a trade dispute. It's a huge test of the separation of powers in the U.S. government. So you might be wondering, why is this court case even happening in the first place? Well, to understand that, we've got to shift our focus away from the international drama and look at what's happening inside the United States. Because for regular Americans, these tariffs have a very, very real cost. And look, don't just take my word for it. Jerome Powell, the chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve, said it as plainly as you can. Tariffs are pushing up prices, and that results in higher inflation. When the head of the central bank tells you that costs are going up for everyone, well, that carries a ton of weight. And this is what that inflation actually looks like in the real world. We're talking higher prices for everyday stuff, a direct hit to the wallets of American families. And it's that widespread economic pain that's really fueling this legal fight and putting all this pressure on the Supreme Court to do something. So, all of this is leading us to a huge fork in the road. The Supreme Court's decision here isn't just some minor legal tweak. No way. It's going to set one of two very, very different futures into motion, and each one has some pretty dramatic consequences for the U.S. and, well, the entire world. So let's look at those two possible futures. On one hand, if the court strikes down the tariffs, the U.S. government could be on the hook to refund billions of dollars. Imagine a sudden, massive government payout like that. It could be like an economic bomb going off, rattling global markets. And for India, a huge win achieved just by waiting it out. But if the tariffs are upheld, it's a massive political victory for Donald Trump. It validates tariffs as this powerful go-to tool for foreign policy, probably for years to come. And Donald Trump himself has laid out the stakes in the clearest terms possible. He's predicted devastation for the U.S. government if it's forced to refund all that tariff money. That really highlights just how massive the financial risk is here, and it underlines how important he thinks this case is. And so here we are, right on the edge of this landmark decision. Is the U.S. Supreme Court about to detonate a potential economic bomb with global fallout, proving India's patient strategy was the right one all along? Or is it about to lock in a new, much more confrontational era of American trade policy? Honestly, we don't know the outcome, but we know one thing for sure: the impact is going to be felt everywhere.